Okay, so let's start today and try to test our skills with printing, Citrix printing. It's kind of I mean there are many terminologies going on, and then we're gonna discuss all about it. But first, we always go with all the troubleshooting. If you're just don't hang on to keep hanging on to your labs and don't give up and try to do all your labs, and please send the screenshots, one or two even, and also. Then there are there's that exam with 116 questions, so try to give this exam and get your Citrix on your resume, get the logo there. That is really impressive for the job market. So Pearson View, you need to just go there, and for preparation after the course or during the course, even at least start practicing those questions. So go for this link and on examcollection.com or many other testing sites just for sample questions, and try to know and get yourself familiar with all the questions that might come. Let's go ahead and download. Okay, this was the last time we did. We No, we did not do that last time. That's what we were supposed to do. But first is printing. Profile management is also one of the topics that is that's supposed to be discussed. There's another slide that I'm gonna open later, where we're gonna discuss about profile management, and I'm gonna be testing your knowledge as well about what do you know about roaming profiles and the mandatory profile, local profiles. And there is that management that has to be done for those profiles in Citrix as well. But Okay, let me just quickly remove the previous slide. Okay, configuring printing. So it is very important aspect, and we have one student here who had some issues with Citrix printing. And I also had lots of issues in Citrix printing, even when we called the Citrix, one of my previous jobs, and when we called the Citrix people, they were also like spending a lot of time. Citrix people were spending a lot of time doing the printing, but we're gonna go and try some straightforward policies there just to get the hang of it, and try to test those policies on our client machines. It's better to have two or three client machines to test that on, or one client machine is also okay. So printing is one of the most important topics in Citrix networks. We will be working on printing. Um, we will be working on printing configurations and policy settings to optimize printing functions in Citrix XenApp form. When a user connects to the Citrix form, if the form administrator permits, the user's printers will be mapped to the Citrix network so that local printing can be done. So what do we mean by local printers? So local printers are connected to the Citrix server. So if you have a laptop and or desktop machine, and the printer is directly connected to your environment, to your computer, it will be loaded to the XenApp form in your session. The Citrix server must have the driver and printer name exactly as the one present on the user's computer with this for this to happen. So local printers are connected to the Citrix server. If you have two or three local printers, okay, so yeah, there's a comment there. In my ex company, they spent a lot of money for Lexmark because other driver had problem with the server, as I understood. Wow, okay, for Lexmark, yeah, we had all HP printers, and they were all HP, and they worked nice as long as they were working in Windows environment. As soon as Citrix arrived, okay, so but that was presentation server 4.5 I'm talking about, where we were having ridiculous issues, and that's like After presentation, it did change. It changed the name to XenApp, and it has improved a lot. And we're gonna see today how it happened, how we can test it locally as well with our printer drivers, which our printer drivers we're going to add to our client machines to check some of the policies. So there is that okay, so local, if you have added a printer to your laptop or desktop, it's going to be added to the Citrix session. But whenever you log in again, it's going to show that every time as well. We're gonna test one by one some of the Citrix behavior by default, and then we're gonna try to change some printing policies within the Citrix environment and try to change the behavior of the default way it's trying to add all the printers. So first thing, if you have a printer added, it's going to add it to the server. Second, for this reason, suppose that each user has 10 printers. 1,000 users connect to the Citrix form will make 10,000 native printer objects floating on the server. So this just means that the server will add any printer that is added to the client machine. In our office environment, I have added 3 or 4 printers, whichever 3 or 4 are nearest. So my boss has like 6 or 7 printers. I don't know why, but he also has some other. But he has a laptop, so he goes to certain meetings at certain other areas where there are local printers. So many printers are added there. If you're moving a lot to different branches, you might have those local printers also added there. But there are scenarios, different scenarios, and then there are different policies to support those scenarios. Um, so this is something that we can see in the environment, that there is that client device, there is a print server. Anyone knows what's a print server? Or if I say what's the difference between print server and print device? So anyone has any idea what is the difference between print server and print device? So print device would be that print device would be the actual device. Print server will share printer in network. Okay, there's that reply. So print device is this, the current client local printer, or print device is this network attached printer. But print server, yeah, so print server is the Windows server where we start adding the drivers of different printers. Suppose there's a printer attached to a network attached printer, there is directly attached printer, there is a printer attached to the client device. So we can add all the printers here, we can add the different drivers here. If I can quickly show that, although you guys may have this experience already, but if I suppose this is my print server, Citrix MAM01 is my print server. So and the printer is somewhere else, it is network attached printer is there. So if I want to add a printer, that if I go to devices and printers and let's try to add a printer here, so I will just go for add a network and wireless. Although it's going to search the printer that I want isn't in the list, I could go for TCP/IP printer. If the printer was network attached printer was there, and you have configured it locally already, and IP address is there, we can just find the printer and it is published in the directory. Otherwise we have to add the whole thing manually. So suppose the printer is actually attached to the network on 10 computers away from me, or on my floor. I'll just at least I will go to the printer and give it the static IP address, because printer is a critical device, so we should be giving static IP address, not from DHCP. Although some companies have given IP address from DHCP, but that's not recommended. Whenever DHCP has a hiccup, your printer will have a hiccup. Or if DHCP grabs the IP back, there are many users who's going to be frustrated. But this, sometimes it doesn't happen at all, or I've seen this happening. So always give static IP. Then add a printer using TCP IP address or hostname. Next, if I go for that device type, I would just go for TCP IP. I'll put that make believe printer 192.168. I think I have 200 or one, because this printer I'm gonna use in my next, some of the experiments we're gonna be doing, not experiments, labs. 200 is the scheme. So if I just try to add that make believe 200 dot, I know that I'm not using 35. And query the printer and automatically select the driver to use. There is no printer there, so if it comes back quick, I will just choose the HP LaserJet. There are in HP 200. Yeah, what's 200? Okay, so there's a comment in the chat. So it's going to search. It's not gonna find. Yeah, network ID. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So detecting the TCP IP port. Well, it's gonna take time a little. When it comes back, I'm just gonna try to go for a generic HP LaserJet driver. That HP LaserJet 4 series driver, or even 5 series. You can use them. They are so generic. I mean, even for some of the printers we had that we were that who's were not well known, somebody purchased it and we had to make it work, and we could not find its correct drivers. So we can use some generic drivers in our environment. And so we used for one printer that was from an unknown company, and I had used the LaserJet HP LaserJet 4, just installed it for that printer with that IP address, and voila, it worked fine. So there are some generic drivers or universal printing drivers that are there out there. If you have those, we can just use that. Citrix has its version of universal printing drivers as well. So here, if standard device is there, or if I go custom, no, not custom. So if I go standard, I can just go for here network printer port. What was I? Multiple printer, Lexmark, or we can just choose any random one right now, because I'm just trying to. But normally here there is, okay, we can just go for generic network card. Next, and checking the driver model. Yeah, okay, so yeah, we have more. So I'm just going ahead with deploying one printer, network printer, and then I'm going to be using this one for our printing labs. So okay, well, it is taking a little time to just add a typical printer. I already have one printer at home, which is also showing here as well. So I should have added two more, but we can add easily other printers, right, whenever it comes back. So whenever I say that, so install the driver for that, or let me just go for HP and LaserJet 6 PCL. So I'm just gonna quickly go for 450 testjet LaserJet PCL 5. Anyway, whichever. And printer name could be whatever the printer name is there. Installing printer, I hope it just goes ahead. Yeah, okay, good. So we can share this printer over the network. We should share this printer over the network. Maybe the location is near the kitchen, beside that nasty colleague of mine. Oh, you can be very professional about that. So professional. Okay, now you can just put it. One of the printer. The it is by my boss's name because my boss is very famous in the company. So the printer is just on his name near his desk, and that's a network printer, a big one. 4-in-1 fax machine and everything. So, but we can just put according to the some famous person who's here for 15 years or near wherever the mark. Okay, so next, we can just go for set the default printer to for ourselves, or we can just uncheck that and print our test page and finish. So I did not put it as a default printer. It is added as network discoverable printer here. Oh, okay, there's a comment in the chat that the recording, double check the recording. Yep, it is working, thank you. Okay, so this is how we can add printers, and we have like four print servers, sorry, and we have total of printers showing like maybe nearly 300-400 printers are showing in total of four print servers. So it's a long list, and many of the printers are defined. So we have to have some very good policies on Citrix to really handle those printers. But if this was a print server, there would be a very long line here as well of all the types of printers that are available at any corners there across our network. So we keep on adding like this if the physical printers are there. So if I go back to my diagram again, it's the drawing again. It's a print server where I just installed a driver, while the printer is a network attached printer, or the printer is client local printer, that the printer is attached to the client, or server local printer. So there are these terminologies that we need to know. Print server, just I tried to show one. Then there's a server local printer as well, which is attached to the server, and that printer is attached to the network as well. And then there is network attached printer, which is a pretty independent printer attached to the network, and you can just discover over the network. This is like it's connected to USB cable, a printing cable, to XenApp server, Citrix server. This is connected to a printer server. So there's a server local printer that is connected to actual XenApp server. Then there is a network attached printer that is just connected over the network, or client network printer, you can call network printer as well. And then there is that client local printer, which is client device, attached to the client device. But when we try to get them to show on our Citrix session, as the client connects to the session XenApp server here, it's whatever local printers, maybe these three printers are defined for this client, wherever that person can send the print. So when the client opens the Citrix session, all three printers defined in this laptop will show here, as well as this is, I'm talking about the default behavior. If we haven't configured any policies on Citrix regarding printing, what will happen is the client logs into the session, and this printer, that printer, that printer, if they are added already in this laptop, these three will show. If on the server directly or already some printers also have been added and published, then those printers will show, as well as the client printers to the client's own printers, added printers, and the server printers all will show. So we're going to test that now, but this is how the default behavior is, and we're going to start adding some policies and testing one by one. If we put this policy, what happens? If we put that policy, what happens? So we're gonna go ahead and try to do that. Printer auto creation is the first policy actually. Now XenApp can auto create locally attached printers. It can auto create that, including locally defined network printers and Citrix universal printer. So auto creation is one policy with which we can do some defining of printers that automatically just whichever printers the client is connected to or have added already, and the server is connected to or have added already, auto just auto create or make them available in this user session. Printer driver types are we have to really worry about that as well. XenApp supports following types of printer drivers: native printer drivers, OEM, original, from the vendor coming, Citrix universal print drivers. This is available by Citrix. Native printer drivers are okay if you have Lexmark, if you have and inkjet, DeskJet from other companies, Canon. You would be having their own drivers, or then manufacturer drivers as well, provided by manufacturer, or updated drivers for the printers, plus universal drivers. Some legacy drivers are also, or generic drivers are also available, which work for variety of printers as well. So printer policies, that's where we're going to start checking now. Citrix allows you to make changes to this behavior. Which behavior? The behavior is that whatever printers are defined will all start showing in user session. So to this behavior, so that the form is optimized by adding printer policies to control how printing is taking place. We're gonna start adding policies now. For example, you can choose to use Citrix Universal Printer Driver or Windows Native Printer Driver. If you use Citrix Universal Driver, you do not need to have all custom drivers installed on the server. Of course, it's a universal printer driver, so it is supposed to make your printer work when you send a print job. This will result in an optimized Citrix network if you want to use that. Citrix default behavior, again, as we were talking about, and we're gonna go there on the client computer, open the control panel, choose devices, printers, list all printer objects. We did that, and then we go to Notepad and check how it looks like. So if we go to our, so in front of you I just added HP LaserJet 3050, right? And on the client we have the local printers, the XPS document writer is added on the client side, and then so let's just go there to devices and printers. On the client side, I already have the server side printers open. There are just two defined here, and on the client side there is this one defined, this one is there in the printers. So if let's open the session and open the Notepad, because we need to open the session, and then Citrix session, we need to use any application to send the print, so we have to be careful. Okay, I did not remove that last lab of NLB, network load balancing, so it should be working. Although I did not remove it, but I don't touch the Citrix environment whole week. So should be working. Otherwise, I'll just cut short to internet options, security. Oh no, that's the site. Well, NLB is loading slow, but it should be loading fine. Copy tools. Okay, now it's a safe site. Yeah, I can check the services. We always should check the services. So I'm just going for Citrix services and services on both servers. This is something, for all critical servers we should be going and checking. Okay, there's a XenApp command remoting. Although if it's not needed, it's not gonna start. If I close right here while it is loading, it is still going to keep on starting, right? So it's not like I've closed it or terminated it. And there's that PML driver which I just added actually, right? That is printer, which is a make-believe printer. And then licensing, monitoring, Windows. Well, some automatic services, even if we start and they're not, they just turn off if they are not used. They just turn off, and since we don't need it and we don't consider it for our environment a very critical one, so Citrix mem, I can just go there and quickly check the services here as well. Okay, it's loaded, so yeah, we'll check the service anyway later. So if I go to administrator on my client just to check how many printers are showing when I open Citrix session. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so notepad. Seriously, calculator does not start printer, right? So I need what else? Give a printer desktops. Yeah, I don't need calculator. It doesn't print, right? Hey, does calculator print? Okay, so notepad. Okay, let me just quickly publish document. So Citrix App Center. And servers, thank God. That's always the case. There's a scare that, oh please, make it work. So it seems it is not published notepad, so I'm just gonna delete the application and refresh and publish application. Notepad is the easiest one, so I don't think it's gonna take time. Should not. Installed application, it's always there, and browse, computer, C drive, Windows System 32, and NOTE. There you go. Double click. Next, add to both servers, of course. Add all. Okay. Next, add domain users. Show users. Well, I don't need to show users actually, because we're always adding for domain users, the group. So domain users. Okay. Yeah, go ahead with this icon. Finish. Refresh. And center on the second one. I'm just going very fast, as we don't need to stop. There's that other service on the second one, remoting command. Loading. We'll just start there as well. I'm just making sure that it's on the second app center as well. But anyway, I just have to log off, disconnect, log in again, administrator, Citrix domain.local. Okay, we're good. So on notepad we're gonna try to see, so now there's a session starting, Citrix session starting, or I'll already, actually the user has already logged in, but We need to still see inside this session when we give, open a document of any type which supports printing, and we try to print how many printers are showing. Element not found. Seriously? Come on, find it. Network connection to your application was interrupted. Try to access. Oh, seriously? Is it because of those network problems? Okay, anyway, it loaded. It seems that it has loaded. It's just not opening. Okay, let me just close that and close this one as well. And I'll just remove those load evaluators and the policies I put there. There was load balancing policies, information, no load evaluators. Did I put any load evaluation for notepad? Nope. Although it should just report. Did I put any policies? User related. Come on. Test user policy, and it's doing what? Client printing, auto create, nothing. Oh, this we will be doing now. So, and whenever we click a policy here, of course, we get to see what's configured inside, if there's anything configured. So, nope. Okay. Oh, there's some notification. So let me just, yeah, okay. The notepad is open, so I'm just gonna go for, and on the client the notepad is open, and gonna click print here. So there are drivers showing. This is the driver from Citrix PC. It just shows there, right? And then if I keep going back, there are drivers on this PC, fax machine showing on this PC, and fax machine on that server as well. Then HP LaserJet, remember that I added it on the server, it is showing. Microsoft print to PDF is also added on this PC as well as on that server. So we have lots of driver on the server side, the server side XPS document writer and the client side XPS document writer, and maybe the server side as well. Not maybe, because it's not showing that it's on, not it's on the client. So client side printers are showing here, while so HP LaserJet is on the server. This is the server version and this is the client side. We don't need so many printers. This is already very confusing. So send to OneNote. So we're gonna now try to see that, okay, the client side printers are showing and server side printers are also showing. What you as a system administrator, what would you want to show, or what should be appearing here? So it should not at least be repeating. Whatever is on the server side or any one of the printers should be showing here, right? If fax 3 is already there, or not printed, HP LaserJet I added on Citrix MEM01, so it is showing, and one copy of it, this is okay. Then there is that XPS document writer. 3 of them are available. We will be at least removing it, because you can just print it to document, which is the Microsoft version. So we don't need 3 to be shown. So if we can only able to show whatever is added in the client side, in the client machine, that would be good. Or if we are able to show just the the default printer, because this has a green arrow here, so this is the default printer, we can just put a policy and it will start removing or make other printers appear there according to that policy. But this is the default behavior which needs to change. But if we go back to our Citrix server and start the PowerShell, and there's that um, command which is set dash ps snapping. Thank God I have millions of snapshots that I've taken for this occasion that I don't get to forget any of the small steps or bigger steps. So I'm just looking at the other screen to get that command quickly. Um, so yeah, there it is. So get, first of all, if it's the first time I'm using that, so it's the get execution policy unrestricted, which is just but I don't think I'm using it for the first time, but it's PowerShell we're going to be using a lot here. Well, GUI and PowerShell both. So we can either put remote signed here or unrestricted fully. So okay, get execution policy. Oh, it's get. I should be putting set. Okay, and press yes. So now it's gonna allow us to put many commands there. And then there is that okay, I need to have all the Citrix related commandlets loaded here, so we could go for the printer related commands. So add dash ps snap in. I've put it aside as well, so I could confirm if I'm not doing any spell mistakes. So what I'm doing is add ps snap in citrix dot star. I could, if you're not able to see that clearly, I could put it to magnifying glass, but it's up to you. Let me know on the chat. So if I press enter, what I entered here is add dash ps snap in space citrix dot star. So any all the commands related to Citrix, please load them so we could start trying them. But if it doesn't give a red line, this means it has loaded all the commands. And if the just the command prompt appears again, this means it has loaded all the commands. Otherwise, it hasn't. So there are many commands that we can check, and that would make our life easier to do some of the tasks, printer related tasks, to get the status of the printers. So once I put the command there, I just have to press when again later I need to run that command. Of course, I'm going to keep this window open, so those commands are available with up arrow. So it is taking a little time, which means either it is loading a lot of commandlets, although even if there are a lot of them, it should open by now. So whatever printers are added on the XenApp server, it's going to, I'm going to give another command that's going to show all the printers that this XenApp server knows, or the printers that have been added to this XenApp server. So okay, if the prompt is appearing like this, it appears like this means all the Citrix related commands have been loaded. So if I start going for get command, what I do in Office or other areas, if I want to record these, there's that, you can just select the whole screen, but sometimes there are commands with very long outputs, and you can keep going down until you have run out of all those when you go up there, you have missed a lot of commands up there. You can up arrow, but there are lots of commands. So there's a start transcript dash trans, I hope it works here, transcript. If you run this command, it's going to start recording all the commands we have put there, and it will put all these commands in this session into a text file. And it's going to tell me where it is saving whatever commands I'm going to type now. Then we can just put email to ourselves, or just put it in an Excel file. So it is in C users administrators or Citrix documents PowerShell underscore transcript. It's kind of those letters .txt. So now whenever I type now, it will we can just add this start transcript even in our PowerShell profile when it is loading. Otherwise, you should start right away if you are running lots of commands and you want to remember them as well with their outputs. So this is a very useful PowerShell command, start transcript. Okay, anyway, so I want to know from PowerShell that how many printers are loaded, but now you're gonna see later when we start doing the lab, we're going to know that this is very handy, and quick results are coming now as we start doing some more experiments. So if I go for get xa printer driver, printer autocomplete, press tab to autocomplete printer driver minus server name, and our server name is Citrix mem01. So if I press enter now, it should give me a list of those printers that it knows or has been added to this server. I just added in front of you one printer at the start of the session. It's doing everything a bit late. It's trying to get the information. So minus server name, Citrix MEMS. Yep. Okay. So these are the printers that are added to MEM01 and Citrix XPS Universal Printer. Okay. Then there's Citrix Universal Printer as well. Two drivers are loaded when you add the Citrix XenApp software, or when you create an environment. HP LaserJet that I created is there, and the HP Color LaserJet 2800. I don't know. Okay, so there's that as well. So okay, let's go ahead and do some other tasks. So let's go for that policy that we wanted to check. So we get to know the default behavior of so this is add PS snap in Citrix, and then there's that server name. So printer persistent on server, all printer objects are persistent. So we are also creating this as well, but adding a new printer to the environment, which I already did. So printer persistent on server, yes, we saw that. So now the next point would be, if I add another new printer to the client machine, does it really show on the Citrix server? Not only that it shows on the Citrix server, does it get permanently added to the Citrix server as well? So let's just check that out. So if I go back to my Citrix 7 or Citrix Win7 and machine, and just click cancel out from this session, and we already know that these drivers are showing here: HP Color, Citrix Universal, XPS Universal and Universal, and HP Laser. So two HP and two Citrix Universals, right? So if I go back to the client now and go to the devices and printer and go for add a printer here, add a local printer, next. Okay, it's adding now, so I'll just add brother printer. So brother printer is here, so we know that this printer is not already there on the server, right? I'm adding it to this Windows 7 client machine. Next, and let's not share that now. Next, okay, we can set it as a default printer, or let's not set it as a default printer now. Okay, so I have this printer added to the Windows 7 machine. On the Citrix MEM server, on the XenApp server, we already know these are the printers that are added only. So I'm going to start the session now. So minimize this and go and open the notepad. It is open, file, go print. Brother printer is added, brother. Okay, so yeah, it is added here, right? And so this is added here in the session, and I think I'm connected to XenApp 1. So how do I know that? If I go to XenApp 1 and go to sessions, yep, I'm connected to XenApp 1. So if I was checking that, as well as giving a little time for the printer to appear here. I'm back on the Citrix Zen server, and up arrow, when I press that on the keyboard, that same command comes, which is if I want to know now if that printer added, and see this here, the brother printer is showing here now because I have a active session coming from my Windows 7 client machine. It has that printer added, so it is showing here, right? But let's close that session. Cancel out, exit, exit, disconnect, return to log on. So I'm out of this session. The session lasts for 15 minutes. Yes, we know that. But well, the printer is still showing while the session is gone. Yeah, session is actually effectively gone here, but there's that default behavior there. If I refresh that, yes, notepad is not open, right? But now, even after 15 minutes, when we see that, that printer is now added. So if I keep putting this command there, get accept printer, the latest list of printers, so this printer is added. So what do we know? The default behavior is that if you have printers added to your client side and they connect to your Citrix session, that printer will be added to the Citrix server as well. And if you imagine that there are 1000 users, they all have their different printers added and they connect to your Citrix environment. If we don't have the correct policies activated and enabled, there will be a very huge list of printers that will be showing here permanently. So we need to change this default behavior because this is the default basic environment. So let's get to that policy and try to change this behavior, default behavior. So what it says here, that printer persistent on server on the client. Now we will check the server to verify that the printer is present on the. Yes, we did that. Before doing this, close notepad. Yeah, we did that. We will see the printer driver showing up there on the Citrix server. May take up to 1 minute. No, it just showed right away. So but what will we do? Prevent printer mapping policy. So launch Citrix App Center, drill down to XenApp, expand the form, go for the unfiltered policy, click the edit button for the unfiltered policy until you reach to the printing side, click settings, click printing section. But what do we do? And prevent printer mapping. So what's going on here? Click add, choose prohibited. Client printers can be mapped if specified elsewhere. Click OK twice, verify, launch notepad on the client. Now you can only see the printer objects from the server. So there's a policy that will prohibit or prevent the client side printers to be loaded. So there will be just server side printers available. Now if those server side printers are actually physically also near the client, it's okay. Client doesn't have to load. Client side printers doesn't have to be loaded. The client sees that printer, just sends the print. The print goes to that printer which the server is offering, and we would do that only if that server is not on the 5th floor and the client is on the 1st floor, of course. But we need to check that policy, right? If it works, and that will let us use some more labs which will be a bit trickier. So if we want to go for the policies, so if I click the policies here on mem01, okay, I don't need this test user policy now, so delete. Yes. Okay, unfiltered policy, this is by default always present there. I'll just click edit there, go to settings, go to printing, and so there is client printer redirection policy here. There is that session printing. If I go to client printers, there is that printer driver mapping and compatibility, and there is that auto create client printers. What were we trying to do? This is client printer redirection policy, and there is just allowed and prohibit there. So if we go back to client printer redirection and click add, this is the client printer redirection. If we prohibit, what will happen? Client printers can be mapped if specified elsewhere. If I prohibit now, no client printers will be mapped. Okay, pretty straightforward policy. Press OK. It shows here prohibited now for this printing policy here. If I go press OK, it's implemented. So the Citrix environment for the user, under the user tab, when the user goes through the session or starts the session, it has to go through this policy, and it is showing prohibited, right? So that will be a problem, not a problem, I mean that will be the case, it should be the case. So administrator, go for, wow, I should have some very simple domain name. Go to notepad, open the session, and go to notepad, open the print queue. So at least the client side locally available or added printers to the client machine should not be showing if the policy worked. It should not be. Come on, it's notepad. Well, it is mapping the printers as well. Okay, it's still opening. One day or Monday, it's gonna open. Oh, come on. Already I'm missing that halwa puri nashta. Oh, okay, the breakfast I'm talking about. Okay, so file. So if I go to print, okay, so what are we looking here? Everything, every printer which is server side is showing, is it? So if I go to the default printer showing at the server, it has been loaded. That's it. There was another printer HP. Well, there's this printer HP which is the default printer, so it is showing just the default printer, but no extra printers from the server side. So this means that all the client side printers definitely or effectively were not loaded to this session. So the policy really works, or it's not like group policy where you have to really wait for it. So if I close this, and so this was the list of all the printers. Server side printer, only the default one was showing. So if we go to the default devices and printers, this is the default printer that was showing, and then XPS. But if I just put this as the default printer instead of that, set as default, the other one, and the policy is still enabled. I go exit and disconnect. Oh, come on. All right, Now you're gonna disconnect also after delay. Administrator. So I just changed the default printer, right? So administrator, go to notepad, and read the news. Okay, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Okay, file and print. So now that printer did show up, which was before a default printer, but the new default printer is also showing up now, which was not showing before. So you can see this behavior here that if you put it on default, so it's going to show, if you even remove the printer from the default, it has been mapped, it will be mounted to the session. This is something we should be seeing, but the policy really is effective, as we can see. I'll keep the session open here, so at least the local printers are not loading. So this is in our control that we can do this. So we can go ahead with another policy here, where allow only default printer to be connected. We were able to block all local printers from being connected to the server. Now let's allow only the default printer to be connected. Go back to the policy settings, click printing tab, highlight client printers, and click auto create client printers. And then what? Click add, change from auto create all client printers to auto create the client's default printer. So specifically there's a policy, it makes our life easier, right? So if we go back, so we were still seeing 2 or 3 or 4 printers, XPS, document writer as well. So maybe we want to just show or let the user see the default printer only, right? So, and that is also the client default printer. So let's check that out. I'll just disconnect from here and go back to my XenApp server and go to the policy. So policy is there, unfiltered one, edit, go to settings, and it is under the printing that if we go to the client printers and auto create client printers, if we click add here, what does it offer? So auto create client printers, yes. So auto create all client printers, this is what was going on until we put that last policy. If we had not put that last policy, of course auto create all client printers was showing, all printers was showing there. So if you drop down there, so do not auto create client printers at all, we can actually specify there as well, but we already used another policy which is doing the same thing, not showing the client side printers. Auto create local non-network client printers only. So if the printer is attached directly to the client and not the network of the client, but directly attached or local printer, then just show that. Or auto create all client printers here, or auto create the client's default printer only. So let's select that, auto create the client's default printer only. So it should show just one client side printer, right? So if I press OK, it shows here auto create the clients. This is selected inside the client printers. Press OK. So there are 2 policies in this unfiltered policy. There are 2 settings are active now. One is just showing, actually if you see this policy here, the first one is saying just show the server side printers. Now the second policy, okay, that was the one that prohibit the client side, don't show client side printers. And the second policy I just put that show only the default client-side printer. So are they in conflict or not? Anyone on the chat? If I keep both policies, will there be a conflict or not? Yes or no? Yes, no, maybe. Waiting. So will there be a conflict if I have these two policies intact, or these two policies are still there? Yeah, that is, I'm inviting you back to the online session. So, so the first policy is, okay, so I'll put it on the chat. Will there be a conflict? First policy says do not show any client side printers. Second says, okay, so second says what? That show only default client side printer. Will there be a conflict? So will there be a conflict? Shall I remove one of the policies, or shall I keep it like that and test? So what do you say? So there is, if you're having breakfast, you could share with me as well, right? Why are you supposed to be the only one eating the breakfast? And can you please turn off that CP24? Come on. Okay, so this question is there. Okay, so there is that reply, private reply. Yes, there will be conflict because they are opposing each other. So I'm just going to have to remove the first policy, right? The prohibited one, which just says that if I click edit, no client printers will be mapped. So cancel, I'll remove this policy. And then there's auto create client printing. Now this will be the policy that we're going to check. Click edit, auto create the client's default printer only. So I'm going to just try to connect with the default printer. Let's check it out now. Go to return to logon, administrator. Okay, opening the notepad. And let's go for, so no, it is showing all the printers right now. So it is showing all the server side printers till now. So let's just log off, disconnect, and give it a little time. So what I did was I'll create the client's default printer only. Yes, so it should be showing that default printer. Do I have a default printer there? Yeah. Okay, if I put the brother as a default printer, set default printer. Okay, so now if I go for user 03, which is another client, and the policy says only show the default printer, let's try another user there. And go to notepad. So it's starting now. So this is a new client session, new user session, and it's going through that policy, but okay, good. So, or not good. So it's not showing the local default printer. I did not put the XPS printer as the default, did I? Oh, it just showed this, but let's give it a time, give it a little time. I'm just trying to check something. It is still showing one printer, but it's not showing the default printer. Even this was not the default for the server side. No, this is the default right now on the server side. So, well, it's just, did not propagate yet. Uh, if I just let it propagate, so while we are expecting that this policy, the auto create the default client default printer should be showing there, and it should be allowed. Okay, allow only default printer to be connected. So printer print redirection also should be on allowed as well, instead of removing. I did remove that, so that's why it's not mapping any client printer. So this is what was done or has to be corrected. So I'm just gonna go back and correct my previous policy where it was going for printing and client printer redirection. Yeah, I effectively removed it, but I should have. It is allowed, but I did not add it. That make sure that it is the client printer redirection is allowed, and then only the client default printer should be showing, right? So press OK. Let's see that. And yeah, user data is being refreshed. Refresh the policy. Okay, then go back again and go for user 03. Log on, notepad. File, print. So there is that client side, uh, printer. So let me just check. Yes, this is what I put the printer as the default, and it is showing here. Although there is that on the server side, there's a printer also showing from the server side, and there's that server side XPS document writer also showing, but the default printer is just for the client added. So this means by default, whenever the client sends a print, it's client's printer that gets that print job. So we can we saw that this policy is also okay working in a large environment. But if we keep going ahead, allow only default printer to be connected. Yes, it is showing. So also make sure that launch notepad and verify default printer from the client is mapped. Yes, we made sure that it is mapped. Allow only default printer to be connected. Exit notepad. We could see that the default client printer was redirected to the server. Yes. So what else? Prevent Microsoft XPS document writer from being connected. So this would be our next task, that whenever we are allowing all the printers to be showing either just from the client side and or from the server side, XPS document writer is always showing up, right? And we can just get rid of this as well, the XPS writer. So if we allow only default printer to be connected, we can go with another policy called highlight printer driver mapping and compatibility, where we can add some custom rules So we have to specifically add the name and the correct name of that XPS document writer, and then we can try to say that do not create that printer next time. So there is that Microsoft XPS star, whatever starts from Microsoft XPS, and we can select do not create that, right? So we are specifically telling that do not create an XPS document should not be adding. So last notepad, now we can see that there is only one XPS document writer. This one is from the server, the one from the client is not connected. So this policy, if we go to the client section, we can just try to enable this, and we can say that okay, already from the server side the XPS document writer is showing, so do not show the same XPS document writer from the client side. At least we are putting the printers in less. So I'm just gonna go back to the policies, unfiltered one, click edit there, go to settings, and client printers. So printer driver mapping and compatibility. So this is a very good way to break. Okay. Well, yeah. So this after this policy, we can have a break. Okay, printer driver mapping and compatibility. So we'll click add here, and then what we want to do here, printer driver mapping and compatibility allows us to go through or to either do not create, enable this policy, or create with universal driver only, create this policy, or replace with some other printer driver. If one driver is being loaded, you can mention the name of that driver, and then try to select another driver. But first let's just go for Microsoft XPS. But is that the name? Even if I go to there to the driver names, yes, Microsoft XPS document writer, that's the full name for that. So there's a server side, and then if you go to the client side, there is, just get out of here. So on the client side is there the same name, Microsoft XPS document writer. So, and then there's XPS. So we can go for Microsoft space XPS and then put the star or asterisk there. So let's go with that policy and try to prohibit this printer from being loaded to, suppose there are thousands of sessions going on. So if we put the Microsoft XPS star and we put do not create, so don't load this one, so at least the environment will be clean, and it is being set on the client side printing. So from the client side, this should not be showing, or these two should not be showing. Somehow two are showing for me. So when we're talking about thousands of clients or hundreds of clients, then this could be a good policy that extra printers do not show. So if I press OK here, it shows that this policy has been set. Press OK. So this is on the client side, client printers, the mapping and compatibility policy. Press OK here as well. So now I have a third policy here in the unfiltered policies, third setting here. So let's check that out. So the client side Microsoft XPS printer should not be showing, at least not the client side. Server side has just one, it can show. So I can go for user 03 and put that there, Citrix domain.local notepad. Okay. Okay, so let's check if the client side XPS printers are gone. Okay, there is only one showing, and it doesn't show that it is from Citrix Win7-PC or from our PC from which we are logging in. So definitely we have removed the two extra Microsoft XPS document writer printers from showing up here. The policy is working perfectly. So locally on from this client machine, these two are not showing now. Only from the server side, this one is showing only, right? So this policy is perfect. So cancel out from here, disconnect. Um, I'll just check if there. Okay, so there is that Microsoft XPS is one thing. Then there is that create with universal driver only, and then there's replace with some other printer. If I see allow only default printer to be connected, verify the number of printers from the client by opening the device printer. So we can, as you can see, yeah, that XPS writer as the default printer, it is not mapped to the server because we have deployed a policy prevent the. Yeah, we did already check that, confirm that it is not appearing there, the XPS printer. So prevent installation of driver on the server, forced use of universal printer. We can also, you know, maybe there's a printer that is connected to the client, but its driver is kind of it's not working, or the when it loads to the Citrix session, it does not work. It's not from any well-known printers, or the driver is currently corrupt at that particular time, or it has been corrupt. So you already recognize this issue that okay, those set of clients connecting, or that particular client connecting, their attached network attached printer driver is not working, so the printer has issues. So you can make that printer, or you can add the universal printer driver for that printer that will be attached in this XenApp session for the client. So if the client logs in to the session, opens a session, Citrix session, and its printer does not load, or the printer is not working because the driver is faulty, you can actually have the name of that faulty printer, and then add universal printer driver instead of that faulty printer, so the client will still be able to do the printing, right? So launch and see the newly added printer there. So we can actually prevent installation of driver on the server, force use of universal printer, and prevent installation of driver on the server, force use. So this is the policy here. There is that policy. If you go to notepad, the same place there. Go back to the launch PowerShell. Yeah, we can see the printer drivers there. We will see that the driver for the new printer has been added to on the server. Go back to the policy, click printer. So what we're doing is, first let's install another new printer, and then since it's on the client side, I'm going to go to the client side and install another printer, and then we're going to put a policy that is going to forcefully remove or not load that newly added printer, and instead the that universal printer will be added instead of that printer. But when the client sends the print through the universal printer driver, it will still reach that newly added printer of the client. It's just that you're preventing the driver of that newly added printer to be loaded to the session for a reason that you know that okay, this driver is faulty, and we try to replace the driver and it's still faulty. So instead, let the user still be able to print by forcing a universal printer driver over that faulty printer driver. So how do we do that? This is also very useful policy. So I'm just going to quickly excuse me. Okay, excuse me. Are you able to listen to this? Okay. So I'm just gonna go for Citrix, machine. I'm just gonna quickly add another driver. So let me add a local printer here. Next, now let's add the Canon, whichever inkjet. Next, Canon printer. So I'm just adding another extra printer just to show that suppose if the driver for that printer is faulty, and the user is saying, oh, I need to print no matter what. So you have tested with that printer that it is the Citrix Universal Printer driver works with this printer, and you have sent some test prints and it works. So you would just force your Universal Printer driver to be loaded instead of this faulty printer driver for that printer. So there is that Canon printer added, and the name here is Canon print. So if I excuse me, okay. So what happens is that if I load this session through, open the session of Citrix, and this printer will be added to the XenApp server. So I will have this printer in the list in the PowerShell here as the Canon printer, and then I can have a policy to force the universal printer driver instead of this driver, right? So but we have a policy of that only the default printer driver should be added or loaded. So if I make this as a default, and then we pretend that this is still having a faulty driver, so first I will load the session so this driver can be added to the Citrix MEM server, that first XenApp server. So I'm just going to load the session, so this driver is loaded there as well. So yeah, let's keep using 003. This printer is a default one, and the policy is also implemented that only the default one should be showing for the client. So let's just check that. So if we go to the file and print, so now Canon is the default printer showing there, and the server side printers are showing only. So this means that this printer is already added to the server as well. If I go to that same command here, get XenApp printer driver, by now is it showing? Yeah, it is already showing. Canon inkjet is added here. What I need to do is go to the policies area, click edit, go to settings, go to the drivers area here, and then universal driver preference. So we can just double check and make sure if this is what we're supposed to do. So it's automatic installation of inbox, so automatic installation of inbox printer drivers, and it is disabled. So what will happen is that inbox, so go back to the policy, click printing drivers, automatic install, and click add disable, right? So prevent installation of driver, click universal print driver from here. So we're going to first prevent the local driver to load. uh, then we're gonna go for click add universal print driver usage, and then we're gonna use universal printing only if requested driver is unavailable, right? So this means that first policy is trying to prevent the local driver to load. Then the second policy is actually saying that if local driver does not load, then load your universal driver. So then we're going to see that it should be the default, the universal printer driver. So we're going to just make sure that it happens. Let's go back to the first policy. First we're going to go to the drivers, and we are already there actually. So it is automatic installation for inbox printer drivers. Click add. What does it do? When auto creating printers perform on demand installation of drivers. So we're gonna prevent the creation or installation of those drivers. Enable to disable the automatic installation of printer drivers from the Windows inbox driver set, which have been staged onto the host using, if that command is being used. But basically it's the client side driver that we are trying to do not perform on demand installation. Press OK. So, and then we are going for that driver preference, or this universal print driver usage. If we click add here, universal printing only if requested driver is unavailable. So use universal printing only is also an option. Use only printer model specific drivers, or use printer model specific drivers only if universal printing is unavailable. So we're going to go for, since we are preferring universal printing, so we're just putting this. So it's going to be preferred or used universal printing instead of the requested driver. Press OK here. So we have put this policy and this policy, and press OK. So what's going on here? The driver for the new printer has been added. So we have added the driver of the new printer here, then we put this policy here. Now what we're expecting is that when we connect to the client, the local driver, even if it shows that the local driver is there, it should be the universal printer driver, or the Citrix logo should be showing there, which means it's a Citrix universal driver instead of the local driver loaded. So if we go back to user 03, local again this, print. So we still have the local Canon inkjet showing there, but if we go and open this, preferences. So when we go for printing preferences, this is the Citrix universal printing driver loaded there. Although, so Canon's own native driver was rejected, so Canon was added to the client. Its own native driver was rejected. Instead, the Citrix universal printer driver was forced on it. So when the client sends the print, suppose the Canon's itself its driver was not working, you installed it and you could not print, so you forced the universal printing on this printer, and when the user sends the print, it excuse me, user is standing still to this Canon inkjet, but actually it's using the universal printing driver instead of the Canon inkjet printer driver. Suppose that was not working. So this is a very good scenario where you can put Citrix universal printing driver instead of the local native printer driver if that native printer driver is not, working fine. So, okay, guys, let's wake up and go back to go take a break here, and we're gonna come back at 12:10 then. So let's have a break. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, um, let's get back at 12:10. 12:30. What? Okay. 12:13. Okay, let's get back at 12:13. And maybe I could taste some of the breakfast. Okay, so I'm pausing the printing here. You're welcome. And then we're gonna come back for more printing, and then there's that user, profile management. This is also a very important topic. We have a takeoff, Houston. So, I was just testing other things. Okay, so we were trying to. Let me just double check. Numbers are moving. Okay, good enough. So we have tried many policies on the Citrix environment. We have put many printer policies and double checked those policies one by one to add a printer, to not show client-side printers, to not show server-side printers, or to just show the default printers, and also default client-side printer, and then also that if the printer driver on the client side is faulty, then let the driver let the in the user session let the driver load, but it's going to be forcefully replaced by a Citrix universal printer driver, and so the client will still be able to use the printing device which has a faulty printer driver. Instead, through Citrix universal printer driver, the user will be able to print to his or her printing device, right? So as an administrator, you can identify which printers are old, or which printers have or printing devices have faulty drivers, and you are still unable to find some working printer drivers for those less known printers coming from those less known companies. Anyway, so we tested that, and it works. That forcefully we can put the or replace the native printer driver with the universal printer driver. Let's go ahead and try to make some more printing features available for the clients and test them through the policies. So this is what we just tested right before the break, and so okay, back. Yeah, so there you go. Well, this was we were testing the universal printer driver. So let's go ahead and check another feature that we can enable through the policy, which is network printing. So to demonstrate network printing on the DC, make sure we have a test printer added. Yeah, we're gonna add it to the client machine. Make sure that the printer is shared. So till now we've been adding printers that are not shared, so we could see if they are showing in the client Citrix session, and they are showing on their they seem to be working. So now we're going to add a printer and then make it a shared one, because we want to use a UNC path and then publish that UNC path to the users. And in order to do that, I'm just gonna quickly go to that domain controller, and then add network printer, and I'm going to share it as well. So add a printer here on the domain controller, and then go for the add network wireless or Bluetooth, and I didn't find it here, so add TCP/IP printer. So I'm just gonna add it myself. Device type TCP/IP, as it's so again an imaginary one, right? 168 dot 200 dot last time I used 35 as an IP. I'm gonna use now 36 as an IP. Query the printer and automatically select the driver to use. Well, I'm just gonna uncheck that, so don't go ahead and query the printer. Next, it's still trying to detect it, and I'm just gonna add some make-believe other network printer driver here, and I'm gonna share it. But the main thing is that we need to publish that printer UNC path, and use it in a policy to make it available for the client. So while it is searching, we're going to check back again in the slide that so one thing that if once we successfully install the printer and share it as well, we should check by going over the network and make sure that it is available there. So when we backslash that server name, that printer shared printer should be showing there, right? And in App Center, we can go back to the policies tab, and then we can go and add this path, because that server we're adding on domain controller. So backslash TC, and we can go for HP LaserJet, or we can go for any other company printer. So we can create a new policy now instead of unfiltered one, and then we can go ahead and add that printer. So we are still adding it. This time we're adding it not for just the client side, we are adding it just for overall printer, overall availability of this UNC path. So let's see what's going on back in on the domain controller. So it's a generic network card, we're gonna just put it there like that. Go ahead, and it's going to come up with the list of all the vendors for the printer. So let's go for okay. So yeah, Epson or Fuji, Xerox. Oh, Xerox. Okay, so anyway, memories. Epson, let's just go for, or Fuji. Hello, Fuji. So just anyone on the top. Next, printer name is this FX. Installing printer. And it's gonna take its little time for adding the inbuilt drivers. Okay, so share this printer so that others on your network can find and use it. Sure. And location on the DC, well, that's for our record, otherwise it's the physical location where the printer is available. Next. And yeah, we can set it as a default and press finish. So it is a printer available on the domain controller. So if I go to my member server or from a client, just go to run backslash. The name of my domain controller is Citrix DC. When I press enter and the shared folders open, there's that shared printer that is available through that server, that domain controller. On when we create a print server, this is how we can remotely connect and see long line of printers which are physically across the floor or several floors, but one print server can at least let you add that printer to your client devices. So if I want to add this printer to my you know uh, Windows client device, all I need to do is now that I can go either just backslash and Citrix DC, enter, and when I double click, it's supposed if it's going to install the drivers and add it to this machine. Oops, it's added already. Okay, just double click that. If the drivers are not available, then there's a problem. Then you have to add those drivers separately. That's how normally you know we add from print servers any printer to our device. This is non-Citrix. This is just how to add a shared printer from a print server. In our case, it's a domain controller right now where I've added that printer. So I'm just okay on the client machine. I'm closing this Citrix session. So let's get back to I have already made available and shared that printer. So if I go back to the XenApp, minimize this. Okay, so there's that in the policies. Now we're going to create a new policy instead of editing the unfiltered one default policy. Let's create a new policy. Let's call it Toronto printer, or just Toronto, just representing a branch or something. Next, so we can go for the printing and then go to session printers. So session printers, if we click here, lists the network printers to be auto created in an ICA session. You can add printers to the list, edit the settings of a list, or remove printers from the list. You can apply customized settings for the current session at every logon. So if you go for add, so we can add any printer. So if we click add here, there exactly it's asking for a UNC path. So when the session is created for a user, this printer can be made available as well. So I can just go, just like I was adding from the run Citrix DC, and when I click browse, there's that Citrix DC, and this is the printer. So if I click the path, we can ask for users to prompt for network credentials. I mean users to put the network credentials, but let's leave it like that. Press OK. So this is location, name of the printer, and the path for the printer. So let's see that okay, we have made this inside the session printers, and it is added like this. So let's go ahead, and then what we are supposed to do here is, since we have a new policy here, we can make this available. So click next in the filter, highlight IP address, click add, and next IP. So not only that this is a shared printer with the UNC path shown, but there is that other scenario where if the user is a mobile one, so if the user has a tablet or laptop and the user is moving between floors of a building, and suppose each floor has its own subnet, and the user basically is sitting on and normally working on floor 1, but the user goes to floor 5 for a conference, and the user needs to print right away something. So the user connected to a Citrix session from floor 5, if the user was on floor 1, the printers near to that user are already added to the session, as the user is normally working on floor number 1. if user goes to floor 5 and still using Citrix applications and want to print to the nearest printer, so we can actually add the IP range as well in the Citrix policy that would make sure that wherever the user goes and initiates the Citrix session, then detect the local IP subnet, and then whichever printers are available in that subnet, make those available to the user. So it will detect the IP address range of the current session. You've initiated a session on floor 5, which is 192.168 201 and something, and our current range on floor 1 is 200 subnet. So if it's a different subnet, so whichever printer drivers are available on that subnet will be available for that session. So that's a very cool feature where we can make it available according to the subnet, and the user does not have to just run back to the physical location of the printer on floor 1 while the user is on floor 5. So this is something we need to test, but what comes ahead is, so network printing, go back to launching notepad, we'll see newly added network printer available. So I'm still in the middle of that configuration, and this is the printer, that session printer that we have added, and we can just press OK here. Then we can go for, so this is the information we can go for next, and then there's that client IP address that we can add to filter out that if the client is in the range of this subnet, then make this printer which we just defined in the previous screen, make that printer available, right? So if I click add and go to allow, enable this printer, in our case it's still that 192.168 dot 200.0 is the range. But if I okay, if this is the range, then go for that printer which I defined in the previous screen, right? So that's what it's supposed to do. I have defined this whole range of 200 because that's our current local range. So press OK here, enabled, press OK. Let's put it to test actually. And what we are expecting from the client side is that the client opens the session, and this printer, since the range is of course 200, that printer should also be showing there. That printer should also be showing, which I just added in this policy as // right? But what we're trying to test here, if this subnet is detected, that printer should be made available. If this subnet is not detected, that printer should not be made available. So let's click next, create. Okay, so we can check on the client side. Let's see if we are not missing any step here. Yeah, we did that. And when we go there to the notepad, we are expecting those that printer to be showing there. So if we minimize that and go back to the client side, so add a printer, no, we're just opening a session, right? Although I just added that printer locally to the user as well, so should not have done that. Still using the network load balancing, which is working perfectly, coming from the last class. So you should have that network load balancing working in your environment, which is a very good experience. Let me know if there's some problem in, you know. Okay. um, Notepad, file, print. Right now there are other policies available or implemented that are actually, I think, preventing this printer to show. uh, what we are expecting is this printer to be available. FX, or yeah, FX printer to be available. So I'm just gonna check if there are, okay, this policy is also priority 2, so the first policy is implemented. So if I put this to priority 1, and there's that session printers policy, if I could disable this policy temporarily. So let's just check this policy, the top one, and the second one is temporarily disabled with all those, restrictions. So if this Toronto printer policy is enabled now, and I could just go back here. Well, maybe I can check it on administrator, because it's also part of the domain users. So what I'm expecting is that session printer to show up as well in the list of printers that the client is supposed to see. I disabled actually all the policies. And I should have just chosen that some of the policies, but so this printer is showing now, FXAP2, which is available, which was, published or shared on this UNC path, but mainly this policy here, which if I edit that, this should be available as long as the IP address is matching, or IP range is matching this printer. This is the IP range, the active filters. If I edit that, this is the range that this printer is added. But we can put another test to that. If I click this and click edit, how about if I deny access to this printer? If this range is detected, then don't make that printer available, right? So it is this range where we are right now. Okay, if I deny this, does it work? And that's the only policy that's available right now. So if I close this, go out to disconnect this session, come back from the other user session, user 03, because it's also part of the domain users group. Well, I hope it's not too soon to log in and nothing was implemented. But it's a small environment. The implementation should have taken place. Okay, so the notepad is loading again, and file, print. What I'm expecting is that printer is not supposed to be showing the FX, but it is showing here on Citrix DC. So, well, the policy did not implement yet, or we may have to check with a combination of policy. The range is there, but this printer was not denied access for this. So it is still there, which could be, if the policy did not implement perfectly. But if I click edit and change it back to allow, so at least we can have, but there is that deny button here that will let you create policies. Okay, so this is where session printing. This is session printing where if the user is roaming, and we can add certain ranges, certain subnets here, and add some printers here as well. So those printers will also be made available for the user as it is detected that the user is in this subnet. So and the nearest printers or the user's regular printers are of no use now because the user is out of that subnet, and it's not practical to go way down there and go back to the user's subnet and print that. So some temporarily you can make the printers available as soon as the session detects that it's this other subnet, which is not the regular one where the user normally is working. So we can make available the local printers, available printers on that floor. Suppose it's a fifth floor where user is just coming once a week, but the user has to make do some printing there as well. So you can add those subnets here. You can add the printers per subnet here, and for any session that the user is creating on those floor, those printers temporarily should be added, and the users should be able to print easily, right? That's a cool policy, right? There are some other as well, other features as well that I took a screenshot of, and those were if you have to, you know, you have added a printer to one of the print servers, and or at least one XenApp server knows that there have been 3 printers added, but now you want every XenApp server to know that how that there were 3 printer edits or four new printer edits to add it to any of the XenApp servers. Or suppose there are 5 XenApp servers. On XenApp server 1, you have the habit of always adding new printers to XenApp server 1. The rest of the XenApp servers must know as well. So the information of the current printers have to be replicated to those XenApp servers. So there's a PowerShell command that makes sure that there's a auto replication, or automatically the printers are the printer information is sent to other XenApp servers as well. So we're gonna try to type that as well. So replicating a newly installed printer driver from one print server to another. There are 2 separate commands for that. 2 separate commandlets for that. One is that that you are trying to replicate the printers to any specific XenApp server, and then you're trying to replicate, doing a auto replicate, that if you add any new printer to XenApp server 1, all the other XenApp servers in the farm will get this information replicated. So there are 2 commands for that. So I'm just gonna quickly type those. So first of all, if I put this command here, how many printers am I showing right now on Citrix mem01? A lot. So if I go and check, I hope it's going to tell me from here. I don't have to go to Citrix mem2 to know that how many printers are added to the second XenApp server, right? So if I print there, XenApp server 2 is also having all those printers added. So let me add, because it has been some time, so whatever got published or what is added to XenApp server 1 is added there. So I'm just gonna quickly add one more printer just to show that if in case it is not replicated, what are the commands to replicate to all the XenApp servers. If I go to XenApp server 2, because with every printer I logged in to the XenApp form. As soon as I logged into the, from every printer, when the user created that session, those printers were added to the XenApp. So when they were added to one, they were added to the second one as well. So if I go to this XenApp 2 server and check how many printers are showing there. So all the printers we've been adding, so Canon, brother, oh brother, okay, and LaserJet, yeah, all the printers have been added. So I'm just gonna quickly add one printer just to show that command there. So in fact we can just check if when we quickly add one printer, local printer here, which is not shared, how soon does it get added to the second server. So add a local printer. This is a quick one, right? So okay, generic or guess Tetzner. Okay, this is just a local printer. Do not share this printer, and finish. So there's that guess Tetzner. So when it gets added there, how soon does it get added to? So I'm on Citrix M1, and it did not even it's not showing yet here. Sometimes it takes. Citrix has any, so there's a question, and Citrix has any tools which apt automatically for Citrix users when they are Zen desktop. Okay, what's Ali? Just do a spell check. So Citrix has any TOLLS. So there's a message in the chat. Tools. Okay, cool. So yeah, so Citrix has any tools which mapped automatically Citrix users when they are in Zen desktop. So there are PowerShell commands, but in order to put automatically printers in users environment, we have been doing through group policy you can add printers there to the session. We have added some of the group policies there. There are many other group policies that we haven't touched yet that you configure, and it will add either local printers to the user local user printers to the session, or server to which the user is connected. But there are tools, but they are third-party tools. Citrix printing management, there is that in Citrix 6, printer management is a separate service that we can work on. So I was supposed to, or was planning to show that as well, but we were mainly doing Citrix environment. So what happens is that before, in previous versions of Citrix, if there was a printing option here as well, where we were doing all the management of the printing, but now they have Citrix is really relying totally on the Microsoft printing service. So if I go to this roles and I add that, so if I go to either it's role or a feature, we're gonna know now. So add roles, and if I go to next, it's a feature, because there's a print management that we can handle the printing from there as well. And Citrix is really relying heavily on that print management feature of Microsoft. And this is network load balancing, desktop connection manager. There was so I can go, internet, no, not internet printing. Not this one. There was message queuing. And if we go a little down, um, so print management. Sometimes the service is just in front of you, and you just pass by, and maybe that's going on. Message queuing provides. No, that was internet message. Um, so that was also part of the plan to show enables clients to use IBP, but not that's not the thing. Remote session, guys. Anyone who is having the environment in front of you, do you see print management or printing management? Okay, let me. I had the picture for that car printing terminology. I have the. Thank God I had a screenshot for that. Let me just show you. So it is print and document services, and it's a role. Sorry. So. So you were saying about if there's a tool there, right? So add roles, and then there is that print and document management. So if I go to role, like seriously, so it's under network policy and access services. This, wow, man, I really need a breakfast. Okay, so print and document services. Now Citrix is really relying on this as well for print management. So there is that print server includes the print management snap-in, which is used for managing multiple printers or print servers and migrating printers to and from other Windows print servers, right? uh, Although there are others as well, but if we go for just print server and install that, there's one console that you can manage the printers. But your question still is that if there are tools, um, there are third-party tools we haven't used. I didn't use because I was asking for purely Citrix proprietary tools. Already Citrix is something that if you start experimenting with in production environment with extra tools, either you have the test environment and you're doing some tests through the tools, it's good. Otherwise, I never tried without Citrix proprietary tools to do some testing on my production environment. I did ask only the Citrix guys. They were saying, "Hey, rely on that printing, local printing features. There are tools, but you just need to have a lot of confidence by using it in a test environment vigorously, and then go ahead and use it in the. If it breaks anything in the Citrix environment, it is already a very sensitive topic. I would go for Citrix proprietary tools only, or otherwise, if recommended by some big company, like if any other big company like Dell or Microsoft is coming up with those tools, then I would do some real serious testing for that first. Then I would go for that. So if I go to that newly added printing service, all programs, administrative tools. I'm just trying to make sure we don't have it here, and yeah, it has to be in. So print management service. I didn't even use that, but there's that print management um, for our environment. But what this also shows in very organized manner, we can migrate printers from here to anywhere. But it's pretty cool when I saw that. I didn't use it in my production environment. That's what I'm saying. Because we always go for what Citrix support is saying. We mess up something, we are in trouble. But this print management, so if Citrix has removed from the App Center any of the printing tools to manage printing, then this is the tool you would have to rely on for multiple printer management tasks for Citrix and through the Windows features. Windows, it's an actual role. It's not even a feature. It's role, so it's pretty important, right? So if we go for print servers, it already detects that there's a print server, and we can see the drivers on this print server, which is a correct information that this is the having the driver. If I go and add remove servers, I can add the second Citrix M02 as well, and add to list, and now it's going to show the print drivers for on that second server. If we have 4 or 5 print servers, we can just keep on adding to this. So Citrix also takes benefit of the features here, all the drivers that are added, all the printers that are added, and printers not ready, printers with jobs. So this is the main one of the main area, printers with jobs. So all the environment you can see here, which printer, which job is going for which printer, right? Print job. So all this and all the print servers can be added here, and deployed printers if there are any. So print management, yes, is one very cool feature that we can use. But third party, I would Google and go ahead. I would not go for production environment to use those unless recommended by my senior administrator, Citrix administrator, or other Citrix administrators in the community. Definitely. Okay, so for it, because it's a kind of sensitive environment, you have to be very careful. So what I was trying to just put the here was one of the commands, and I'll just gonna quickly put that there. And this is that if you put especially that command which shows, which let us do the replication, automatic replication to all the printers. So let me just get that command, because I really wanted to mention that in the video. And so like seriously, hey, where's that command? Okay, I put it there. Get help, because I need to add this, so just bear with me a little. Sessions printers can be made, printer driver name. Yeah, session printing, we did that. Session printing into driver. And after implementation, removing the previous, creating a client side, default printing, just defining IP. Oh, seriously. Okay, got it. So that is the command. Add XA auto replication printer driver, and minus the driver name. We have all the driver names here. So for the record of the video, add dash XA XenApp auto printer, auto replicated printer driver, auto, put R and press tab. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Replicate printer driver minus driver name. I'll just put any driver here. What I'm doing from this command is that whenever I add any new printer here, that printer should be replicated to all the other XenApp servers right away. So actually this is more specific driver name that when I add that, please add it to all the, so specific driver name I have to be very careful about. So if I like just the driver names, right? So FX AP dash II 3000 PCL. Okay, enter. So yes, it is supposed to be replicated. Machine name Citrix member one. So add auto replicated printer driver. So this means, although it's already there in Citrix mem, so if I just up arrow this, we already saw that that if we check the printers of FX is there, in case they're not there, or if you have already just added it and you don't want to take the XenApp form to the time to replicate at its own schedule. So you could just put this, auto replicated printer driver would send this or replicate this driver to all the XenApp servers in the form, right? So that's what this command is for. Or you can just quickly replicate to any of the other specific servers as well. So this is a collection of all the printer policies, but we haven't. So we have gone through many of the crucial policies. I mean critical policies, which we are supposed to know at least among the many other policies. If I go back to printing, there are many other policies. I just enabled this one, right? So if I go for default printer, set default printer to the client's main printer, or do not adjust the user's default printer. So there are many aspects here that you could just go ahead. Oh, this is useful. Put it on test, and then put it in your production environment. So there are log errors only, log errors and warnings. Do not log errors or warnings at all. We can start enabling all these policies. Session printers is the one very important policy that where you can click add the UNC path and go ahead that this printer has to be added to that IP range or that set of client machines. This printer should be specifically added. So session printer has many good properties. Wait for printers to be created. If I click add here, it is already disabled, and it is recommended that you disable this policy because if somehow the printers are not added to the session, or if they do take time, the whole session will be waiting and it will not be loaded, and this is not a good idea. But there are some specific scenarios where you can use that. Then there are client printers. We just use these two policies: auto create client printers and mapping compatibility. But there are others as well: auto create general universal printer, auto create the universal driver is also disabled, but because we do not need every time a universal printer, but we are using already our native drivers. And also client printer names, so we can just have standard primary names or legacy printer names as well. We can use the older printers as well and add them here, or let them the form should be trying to easily add them if we add the legacy printer feature as well. Direct connections to print servers. Also make direct connections from host to print server for client printers hosted on accessible network share. So this is all about if you want to avoid one hop. Suppose your printer is on one segment and the client is connecting through child domain, and the printers are all on the client side. So the XenApp server should directly add one of the printer from the client to the session host, so the client can print locally there while the client is locally not present where the XenApp server is, right? So this, and then printer properties retention. Suppose you have made some properties, you selected A4 letter size or A4 paper size, A5 paper size, and you don't want to lose those printer settings, so you go for saved on the client device only. You either those settings can be saved on your device, retained in user profile only. In your user profile, this is better feature, user profile, because if you have a roaming profile, wherever you go, this whatever way you set your printers, it will retain that setting, held in profile only if not saved on client. So it will try to save on client your printer preferences. If not, then it will keep it in your profile. Maybe if you have a mandatory profile, then of course no, you cannot save there as well. Or do not retain printer properties at all. If you have chosen some specific settings in the printer that I want to print that way, well, as an administrator you can just say no, don't save it. But right now it's held in profile if not saved on client. So two options are there: they try to save on the client user's client machine if those printer settings, otherwise keep it in the profile. And then there is retained and restored client printers. So whatever client printers can be auto retained and auto restored. They can be kept, and even if you lose them, they can be restored as well. So you can have this policy so it will remember the first time you add a new printer. In the drivers also, we tried both these policies for forcefully putting the universal printing driver available. And then universal printing has many other in-depth features that we really need to do our homework on. And when we are really forcefully making the universal printing available, what are the other options as in terms of performance and all the other things that we need to really do our homework and then enable them. But we don't use that a lot in our production environment, definitely. Okay, so this is for printing today. This session was dedicated for printing. On Tuesday, we're going for all other remaining features, and also I plan to uh, at least start the installation of the 7.6. We can try to do that, at least create the environment in Windows 2012, but we have to exhaust all this, or discuss all those remaining components and features, so we can go for and test at least the Zen desktop, Zen server, and which is not part of the Zen app, but anyway, let's put the Zen server, let's put it to test, and Zen desktop as well a little, and try to have some uh, Zen app, Zen desktop actually, 7.6. Let's try to see that as well. So okay, any questions for today? If not, then have a nice remaining Sunday, and we're going to meet on Tuesday, right? If no questions, this is have a nice Sunday. Thank you.